Thank you for the opportunity to testify this afternoon. My name is Taylor MacGraw. I host a podcast about school segregation called The Bell, and I facilitate a group called Teens Take Charge that fights for educational equity alongside Integrate NYC and other courageous student leaders. Before I start, I just want to say for the record that I'm a little disappointed that the seats in front of us are less full than the seats behind us, and I hope that we can find another forum to make sure that the right people in the right ears are hearing the messages that these students have. So I just wanted to note that.
Just on that note, let me say, sometimes council members, especially at this time of year, are pulled between other hearings. I don't know if you were here when in the beginning and I had to go to one room and come back and vote. It's the time of year, but they will break this down to them as well when we meet as a committee outside of here. So I wish some more would stay as well, but they will get what you're saying, and we take it very, very seriously.
Thank you for that. So I used to teach history, and I want to start there. July 24th, 1956, the New York Times front page headline read, "City schools open a major campaign to spur integration." This was 2 years after the Brown v. Board decision, which compelled city leaders to form an integration commission out of a, quote, moral obligation. In the spring of '57, the Board of Education unanimously adopted this commission's sweeping plan to integrate schools. It included deep structural changes that would have transformed an unequal school system. The plan was to be in, quote, full force within a year's time. But white segregationist mothers and fathers made sure that it never happened. These parents claimed they weren't opposed to, quote, normal, natural integration. Just give it more time, they said. And it's funny because also in 1957, a segregationist governor in Arkansas said the same thing as justification for blocking 9 black teenagers from entering an all-white high school. The hypocrisy there could not have been more clear. So as far as I can tell, the difference between whites in the South and whites in the North is that the Northerners have been far more successful at maintaining segregation. And I think the biggest crime is that we teach students about what happened in Little Rock, but we don't teach them about what happened in New York City or Philadelphia or Chicago. The schools here are still segregated, and they aren't segregated because of 400 years of American history. They're segregated because segregationist policies continue. Selective and specialized high school admissions are segregationist policies. School assignment zones have in many cases been drawn to maximize segregation. So we must teach students of color that these policies are the reason they have inferior resources in their schools, and we must teach white students that these policies are the reasons that they have outsized access to an elite education. Otherwise, students will continue to think that the conditions in their schools are normal, that if they get more, they're worth more, and that if they get less, it's because they're worth less. We must teach them that this is not a meritocracy, it's a caste system. When we teach students this truth, when our leaders aren't afraid to use the term segregation, and when we stop cowering to the pocketbooks of white power, we won't need hearings like this because we will all understand that integration is the same moral obligation that your predecessors recognized 60 years ago. And until we finally meet that obligation, we'll continue to deny hundreds of thousands of black and Hispanic children the equitable education we keep promising them, but which they have never seen. Pilot programs and incremental steps were not the answer in 1957. They're not the answer now. We don't need another commission or task force to study this issue. Adults have screwed this up for decades. It's time to listen to the students and let them lead the way. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, let's go this way across. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Nusi. Well, my full name is Surratt, but I go by Nusi. I am a senior at Academy for Young Writers. I represent Black Lives Matter, GSA, Teens Take Charge, and also Sponsors for Educational Opportunities, also SEO. I want to talk. I understand there's a lot of, big numbers and like percentages about the inequity and the issues, but I want to talk about personally about how I feel. My school is a very small school, but we in a large school where we have multiple schools, Spring Creek, middle schoolers, that fits in all. Special ed also fits in the school. And for a person like me, I'm very close-minded. Like, I like small classes, but I noticed that since my school doesn't have enough money, or it's like is on under a budget. Most of my classes, I have like AP Literature, there's like 30 to like almost 35 kids fit in, and I mean, I understand other people love big classes, but I'm a person who loves small. Like, I want teacher recognition. I want teachers to talk to me personally and like help me guide it. Because without, you know, teachers looking at me instead of teachers going at other students, because, you know, they got bigger voices, they got, you know, more spirit. Unlike me, I'm very introvert. It's not really helping with my education, and I want to like double major in computer science and journalism because I am a poet and I also am a programmer. I love computers, I love technology, and I also love writing and be able to express myself. So for the fact that I realized that because my school is on a budget or is like in a low area, we don't have like enough spaces or ability to like be ourselves and be able to like speak freely because we are forced under the DOE's, you know, constraints. They have to follow certain rules because, you know, if they don't, they won't get enough money. And I believe that's unfair and really annoying. You know, it's really irritating to realize that I can be able to, like, you know, do more, because when I go off to college, I'm going to be able to do more because I'm in a bigger space. I am able to do things. We're in high school where it's supposed to be like a set-ready college. You're not going to be able to go ahead because certain constraints from the DOE. And I believe that the DOE do not listen to students. They say they do, but I believe they don't hear the voices that we say. And if we talk about the issues, they come in our classes and we see, oh, we learned this, we learned that, but they don't really look into it. They don't really talk to us, because if you really sit down, if you really talk with just one-on-one with us, you will realize that we're going through a lot of issues. A lot of us got depression. A lot of us is suffering from stuff at home because, you know, there's issues like parents are not talking, parents working every day. So there are a lot of issues going on with just the students themselves because of certain DOE constraint. And that bothers me today because, you know, they're not here to like really understand where I'm coming from and where I'm going with this. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Got it. Yes, very good.
No problem.
Yeah. Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Dulce Marquez. I am a senior at New Heights Academy Charter School and a member of Teens Take Charge. This year, I am taking calculus. In my high school, calculus is the most challenging math class available. Our calculus teacher shared with us recently a statistic from the Atlantic from 2015. Despite the fact that Latino kids make up a quarter of all public school students and black children comprise more than 15% of students that year, just a third of high schools, where at least 3/4 of students were black and Latino, offered calculus. As we allowed this to sink in, she continued, "We don't have textbooks. The textbooks from last year were too broken and in such ugly state that they cannot longer be used. So hopefully our school will soon order our new textbook." The majority of the students in my calculus class are girls, and all of the students in the room are Latino and African American. So why did my teacher share this statistic with us? She also showed us a picture of a calculus class at a more successful and privileged school. The students in the picture didn't look like us. In fact, they were white. The majority of the students in the class were boys and holding calculators and textbooks. In our class, we often have a shortage of calculators, and some of them hardly even work. I'm here to talk about the shortage of supplies and resources at my school. I am here to represent my classmates, to represent my school, and represent a group of people called the minority, but who are actually the majority. My class is the epitome of the future environment of classroom. My question to you today is, why is it that if our classrooms of tomorrow will look like my calculus class of today, Are we not fighting for these classes to have the best of resources? According to this article by The Atlantic, the report found that high school with high numbers of Black and Latino students were less likely to offer physics, chemistry, and even algebra 2. Why is it that we offer less opportunities to the minorities, but then blame them for the detrimental effects of non-educated people in the American economy? I am here because I don't want to just ask these questions. I want to solve them.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Dean. I'm a senior at Victory Collegiate High School, and I'm also from Teens Take Charge. A few things I really want to touch upon is, as a senior right now, going to a school that's a Title I school with mostly minorities, one of the hardest things to do is the college application process. Many things such as a school profile, which details a school's SAT score and its financial status. My school didn't have one, and I actually had to approach my principal over the last few months and had him construct one that I could send to my Common App. Doing early decision wasn't even an option for most kids because most of the requirements that the Common App requires from a guidance counselor was not available. Also, last year my school had an AP class, and the AP textbooks that came a few weeks before the test. So especially as a high school senior who's applying to colleges, many early decision opportunities, early action are just seen as off limits because of what the school does, especially for its senior support. So, going to these schools, our school also wouldn't offer any extracurriculars such as woodshop, music, and arts. Our school would only have enough money for the necessity. We also never, for our grade, had any college trips outside of New York City and only went to CUNY-deprived schools. So I'm just here to really push the force and the implementation of more programs and more extracurriculars outside of the norm for schools with mostly minorities, because arts programs are the main one that take a hit, and also advanced classes, AP classes, even though some schools may have one, they don't have the resource. They don't have the teacher that has the credentials to teach that class. The class size is too much. So oftentimes, when they say we'll give the school an AP class, they'll only push the problem under the rug because they won't address it in the full scope. And to end my thing, I have a short poem I wrote about this. What makes school great isn't education. It's the interpersonal skills developed. Any kid can read a textbook and be educated, but the human connection is something that can't be replicated. Websites and online tutors can have your child highly educated, but social skills in schools can't be emulated. So when there's no diversity and I'm surrounded by kids in the same circumstances, how can my thinking be challenged? I'm surrounded by an abundance of melanin. Do I have to go to college to see what it's like to interact with a peer who has white skin? It's like school has given me a key but put a latch on the door. My school wants me to dream to the moon, but lack the resources and has me lashed to the floor. I'm used to teachers leaving frequently, problems consistently, and they tell me it doesn't matter. Your lack of APs, SAT prep, college readiness, and school can't all be made up if you have persistency. Yeah, right. These positive resources lead my path to success derailed. How many poor and Black and brown students is the system going to fail?
Let me ask you a question. Would you know how many students are in your school?
My school has 336 children, and my school is 7 schools in one campus building.
So how many guidance counselors do you have?
We have 1.
One, and that guidance counselor is responsible to help you with college admission?
Is actually also responsible for all interactions from 9th to 12th. So oftentimes when I come for college support, there's been a fight between the freshmen, and he's like, I can't help you. These freshmen are having an issue.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. Next, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Jed Erick Australia, and I'm a senior at Victory Collegiate High School and a member of Teens Take Charge. When it came to whether I would attend college, I always knew that it was something I was fighting for. I didn't know at the time if I was fighting to go to college for myself or my immigrant family from Dominican Republic. Coming here to this country, I didn't expect it to be so split. Watching shows on television, one would think all high schools across the country are full of this so-called integration. I came to realize that it was quite the opposite. It isn't daytime television. There aren't any commercial breaks after this dramatic scene. I'm a son of 2 modest, hard-working immigrants, but it's apparent we're not lucky enough. I didn't get into the pristine high school in Manhattan like my parents wanted. Instead, I got to a school in Canarsie. I I didn't get the school with kids of different backgrounds. I got a school that is 88.6% black. Ironic that most of us aren't even college ready. When it concerns safety, I don't even get that sense of security at my school. It was December 20th of 2016. This is third period, and about a few minutes from class coming to an end, all I can hear are books being shuffled into bags and overall chatter. Then all we hear is a sharp crack and a slam. A bullet fires into the room, and all of us collectively huddle under desks. Glass landed on the floor. Some kids at this point are commando crawling out of the room. I felt like I was on a battlefield, as if I had to prove to someone that this education was worth receiving, like I was at war with something I couldn't see. That AP biology teacher quit, and I wonder where she is today. I wonder if she'll teach at a school like mine again. I task you with spending a day in our shoes. Clear your schedules, get testimony from students that go to these bad schools, especially the ones you oversee in your district that fall behind, because they need your help. They're students just like me, going to schools just like me, trying to make something out of themselves just like me.
Pretty incredible story. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Whitney Stevenson, and I'm here to talk about my personal story to when I realized that our education system wasn't integrated. There was that vivid segregation that I specifically seen at a young age. So I'm in a system that knows me for my numbers rather than my individuality. An individuality that was sparked by art and poetry, a path that seems non-existent when in middle school, art only appeared once in my 3 years and never seen nor brought up in any clubs. I had 2 math courses, global history, US history, and English courses, all educational, yes, but ones that didn't allow me to access to further build my imagination and creativity. I wanted to go to an art school for high school, and due to the lack of access to art, this was a challenge. I had to create a portfolio with materials my school didn't provide. I arrived to LaGuardia with a portfolio case, borrowed from my sister, art I created not fully knowing the criteria. I entered and I didn't see much people who looked like me. I looked at my portfolio case in comparison to theirs, and the type was different in value, and their artwork was clearly seen to be used by utensils I didn't have. I became immediately intimidated and saw the portfolio difference in quality of the work. That was where within the art spectrum I saw the disproportionality. Art was my first attempt to follow my dream at age 12, even when I would see the opposite responses of some saying, when I say art, instead of lawyer, to the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Different responses. As access to materials and opportunities weren't abundant to enter high school for the arts, this was a choice and decision of me choosing my passion. As I went down the path of the system structure, I took the specialized high school test to get into the top schools. Similar to the art school, I saw people who didn't look like me. And if I did, they were from my school. I entered a testing area where I saw their student body to be predominantly white and Asian. And a point where I'm getting to here is that the difference in where we live and what schools we go to is a difference that is rooted way deeper than just the fact that it is demographically different. We have access to different things and opportunities. As a student in Stuyvesant and a student who goes to public school in Harlem won't have access to the same opportunities available. As I enter high school, I have built the mentality and one that my school tries to admit within our minds that as a student of color, we have to work 100 times harder compared to white students who go to a school in the Upper East Side because we're at a disadvantage. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Nelson Luna, and right now I'm going to speak about my earliest memory of inequity. And I think it's important because when we're speaking about the school system, you have to understand the stance that these kids are starting off with, which is kids of color and kids of low-income backgrounds. So my earliest memory of inequity was in 6th grade, and it was in my English language class. And my teacher was speaking about why my charter school had a word count. So we have a 1 million word count where we had to read books and then take online tests in order to earn the worlds. And she said the reason was because there was a 30 million word gap between students of low-income backgrounds and affluent, richer, whiter students. And I remember the minute that she said that, the class like erupted in chaos. Kids were like, how is this possible? You're lying. Like, this is not true. And it's like the 6th grade class just went into like an argument with the teacher. And it wasn't until that she put up the article by psychologists, and after she showed them, she's like, look, this is a real issue. The whole class stood silent. And that was before I even knew what words like inequity, inequality, injustice were. But I understood that there was a problem. And I feel like that moment has been reflected throughout my high school career, because even though the kids in my charter school, they're going to go to the same colleges as their affluent white counterparts, but our paths to these colleges are not the same at all. The kids in my charter school have to work way harder. We have to read so much books in order to close this word gap. We have to stay in school from 7:30 to 5:30. We have to take more classes, and we're experiencing less pathways to get to where we want to be, like what Whitney was speaking about. We don't have the opportunity to graduate and have art classes or look at an art career, because what we're told is that, no, like, that's not the way to go, and that's not the opportunities that we're given. And I think it's important because I didn't realize this issue until really after that experience, and then when my best friend went to one of the top private schools in the nation, which is Spence, and we spoke about our experience, and I was just like, whoa, like, it's crazy. Like, it's a real crazy difference. Like, she has a whole bunch of different art classes and extracurriculars that she can attend and participate in, and she doesn't have to go to school as long as us. And it just really shows that the students that we're working with are completely at a huge disadvantage than other students. And in order to really understand that we need equity in our education system, and we need a better understanding that although these kids can make it into the same colleges and the same careers and the same success as other kids, is going to be a lot harder, and because they're at a bigger disadvantage. So thank you.
Thank you. One of the things I'm a little bit surprised at with this panel is the number of students that go to the charter school. Can you just show me who goes to charter schools here? And yet you're encountering some of the same issues that students in the district public schools, the district high schools or whatever, the city high schools are encountering as well. So did you choose to go to the charter school?
I wasn't accepted to.
Can you just pull the mic a little closer and make sure it's on?
I wasn't accepted to the schools I applied to, so it was my only choice. The charter school is a neighborhood school, so it was close by.
So that the charter school was the second choice, kind of like, right?
Yes, and my sister,
to the specialized high school or whatever.
And my older sister went there, so.
And was that because your charter school was a better choice in your mind than the district school that you would go to?
No, like I said, I wasn't accepted to the schools I did apply to, so it was part of. Yeah.
Part of those choices.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. It's the first time I've actually heard this. So I'm appreciative of you all coming in and sharing that information with us. And maybe we'll have some other questions later on, and I'll get back to you on it, okay? Thank you very much for coming in. Really very moving testimony. Councilmember Lander?
Yeah, well, first I want to thank you, all of you, for your powerful words, and to Taylor and the Bell for bringing you together. And it was an honor to spend some time with you uptown at an event recently. You know, obviously, first, your stories are testament to, you know, what you guys are capable of. And, you know, like, that's kind of, in a certain way, all you need to know. So I think your words were very eloquent on that point. And obviously, providing a segregated and unequal school system is, you know, an immoral discrimination against young people of color. But we also all suffer. There was an amazing article that Vox had this week about what we're losing in terms of innovation as a result of not tapping into the innovation of young people. You know, and if what we believe is that we want an inclusive, multiracial democracy, this is not what we're producing. And sure, you can hoard privilege, but you can't create an inclusive, multiracial democracy in the segregated school system. So I just want to thank you for saying all of that. I unfortunately have to go, and I'm really sad about it, seeing who's left in the list. So I want to thank the chair for staying. I'm going to watch the stream. The whole thing is, is recorded and live up online. And anybody in the room who is here who I'm not able to sit and stay for, if you reach out to my office, we'll also sit down with you one-on-one or in your small group. So I apologize that I can't stick around. I'm going to come back if Danny has to go after my next meeting. But thank you, and thank you guys again for this great panel.
Thank you very much, and we will get to everyone, so hang in there.